Congratulations. You just declared war on the galaxy's deadliest species. Those words echoed in Commander Mara Graves' head, but it wasn't the first time they had crossed her mind. The transmission had come in loud and clear, chilling her to the core, a message from the Galactic Council's elite arm of diplomacy, now delivering the consequences of humanity's latest and most dangerous misstep. In their desperate scramble to secure their place in the cosmos, humans had made an unforgivable error. They had taken the first swing against a species so powerful, so ruthless, that the mere thought of defiance was enough to send entire civilizations scrambling for cover. But Mara wasn't just a commander. She was a strategist, and humanity had one thing no other species in the galaxy could match: the raw, unyielding resilience to survive against all odds. Earth had survived wars, disasters, and extinction-level threats. If there was one thing humans knew how to do better than anyone else, it was fight. And now, with their backs against the wall, they were about to do it once again. Only this time, the enemy wasn't just another alien race looking to expand its empire. It was a predator. A killer that had wiped out entire worlds with little more than a whisper of their existence. The first humans to encounter the species never stood a chance. Entire fleets vanished without a trace, leaving nothing behind but the echo of their last transmissions. But humanity wasn't one to bow down to fate. They weren't interested in surrender. No, Earth's best minds, engineers, scientists, and soldiers had been working tirelessly for years, developing weapons and strategies that could at least stand up to the inevitable onslaught. Humanity's greatest minds had created an AI-human hybrid fleet, blending cutting-edge technology with human instinct, daring to defy the impossible. And now it was all about to be tested. Mara stood at the helm of the flagship Vigilance, staring out at the cold expanse of space. Her eyes narrowed as she glanced at the war maps projected before her. Countless vessels, drawn from across the stars, were heading their way. But this wasn't just a fleet. It was a warning. Humanity's survival instincts had kicked into overdrive. They weren't just fighting for their place in the galaxy. They were fighting for the right to live. The screens flickered as the enemy's shadow loomed closer. They were here, and no one in the galaxy had ever seen anything like them. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. It didn't matter. Humanity wasn't about to give up, not without a fight. Mara's fingers tightened on the command console. Ready the fleet. We make our stand here. But just as she gave the command, an unfamiliar signal cut through the communication channels, bringing an eerie silence across the bridge. Mara froze, her breath catching. The signal was from an unknown ship, dark, silent, and impossibly close. Who was it? Were they allies, or something far worse? As the unknown ship's presence grew ever nearer, Mara felt the weight of humanity's future pressing on her shoulders. The tension was unbearable. Would they survive this battle, or had they already made their final mistake? The galaxy's deadliest species wasn't just coming. It was already here. The strange ship's signal continued to pulse through the communication channels, its pattern unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It wasn't just an alien transmission, it felt deliberate, almost like a warning, or perhaps something worse. Mara's fingers hovered above the console, her mind racing. Who could this be? Was it another alien faction coming to finish what the first had started, or was it someone else entirely? She glanced at the officer standing beside her. Lieutenant Erickson, her most trusted ally and a brilliant tactician in his own right, looked just as uncertain. His brow was furrowed, eyes scanning the data feed as the unknown signal grew louder, clearer. It's not a ship we've encountered before, Commander. And it's definitely not a distress call. Mara's mind was already running through possibilities. Every scenario led back to the same conclusion. If it was a faction with hostile intentions, their fleet would be upon them within hours. They didn't have the luxury of waiting for answers. Prepare the fleet, Mara ordered, her voice steady despite the knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. We can't afford to be caught off guard. Understood, Commander, Erickson replied, his voice tight with tension. He turned to relay the command to the rest of the crew, but his eyes never left the signal. The silence in the control room was suffocating, broken only by the soft hum of machinery. Mara took a deep breath, trying to center herself. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, but it wasn't the responsibility that troubled her. It was the uncertainty. Humanity had barely held its own against the galaxy's deadliest species, the Exorosians. Their relentless pursuit of domination had turned the galaxy's strongest military fleets into dust, leaving nothing but whispered legends of their merciless efficiency. The last thing anyone had expected was to find a new player in this cosmic game, one who could alter the balance of power in a way that none of them could predict. Her mind flickered back to Earth's first contact with the Exorosians. That day, they'd thought they could negotiate. They were wrong. The aliens hadn't wanted to talk. They'd destroyed Earth's first fleet, leaving humanity with no choice but to fight back. The battle for survival had only just begun. Now, faced with a mysterious new ship and the looming threat of the Exorosians, Mara had no choice but to fight on. But even she could feel the truth. There was no real hope of victory. Not yet. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and overmatched in every way. But what humanity had in spades was something no alien species could replicate: ingenuity. They could adapt. They could outthink their enemies when there seemed to be no way out. "Commander," Ericsson's voice interrupted her thoughts. His eyes were wide, his tone urgent. "The unknown ship, it's heading straight for us." "Red alert," Mara barked, her pulse quickening. "Deploy all defensive measures." The ship's shields flickered to life, casting a faint blue glow across the dark expanse of space. But it wasn't enough to ease her nerves. They were being watched, studied. The unknown ship's proximity was too close to be coincidental. And the Exorosians were still out there, their presence like a shadow, looming just beyond the edge of detection. As the unknown ship closed in, the crew scrambled to prepare. But then, a soft ping echoed through the room. Mara's gaze snapped to the screen. The signal, it had changed. It wasn't just noise anymore. It was a message. The words that flashed across the screen were simple, yet they struck her like a bolt of lightning. "We are not here to fight." Mara's breath caught. But then, before she could process the message fully, another flash of data arrived, more urgent than the last: "Leave the galaxy, or all of humanity will be destroyed." Her stomach turned. The unknown ship hadn't come to help. They had come with a warning. But who were they? And why did they know humanity's future was so fragile? Before Mara could make sense of it, a new signal appeared. This time, it wasn't a message, it was a visual. The image that materialized on the screen sent a cold chill down her spine, the face of a creature, one not entirely alien, but something human yet unmistakably not. The voice that followed was chilling. "You're running out of time, Commander." The transmission ended abruptly, and the bridge was plunged into silence. The silence after the transmission was suffocating. Mara stood frozen, her eyes locked on the empty screen. The face, the one that had appeared so suddenly, lingered in her thoughts. It had been human, yet not. There was something unnatural about it, something otherworldly. It wasn't just the appearance. It was the way the eyes had looked back at her, as though they saw something deeper than just the physical world. As if they knew something about humanity that no one else did. Ericsson was the first to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "Commander, what do we do now?" That wasn't a threat. It was a warning. Mara clenched her fists, the weight of their situation crashing down on her. She had always trusted her instincts, and something about this whole situation felt off. It was as if they were walking into a trap, but there was no way back. The unknown ship had made it clear they weren't here to fight, but they weren't offering an olive branch either. And the Exorosians, the deadliest species the galaxy had ever known, still hovered at the edge of their reach. "Prepare a full analysis of that transmission," Mara ordered, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her mind. "I want everything we can learn about this thing. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Ericsson nodded, already moving to relay the command. But before he could, a new voice came through the ship's intercom. It was Captain Rhea, head of the elite Special Forces unit assigned to the Vigilance. Her voice was strained, but the urgency was unmistakable. "Commander, we've detected an anomaly in the system," she said, her tone sharp. There's a presence, something we can't identify. It's moving closer. Mara's stomach dropped. How close? Within 10 minutes, Rhea replied. I don't know how, but it's faster than any ship we've seen before. Mara stood up abruptly, her eyes scanning the starfield outside the viewport. Something's not right, she muttered to herself. What the hell is going on? She turned toward Erickson, her mind racing. Are we sure this isn't a diversion? That ship, the one that sent the message, could it be leading us into a trap? Erickson met her gaze, his brow furrowing. It's possible, Commander. But if they wanted to destroy us, they'd have done it already. This feels different. Maybe they're testing us. Testing them. The thought stuck in Mara's mind. The galaxy's deadliest species had never tested anyone. They annihilated their enemies without warning, without hesitation. But this felt like something else entirely. The unknown ship hadn't attacked. It hadn't even shown signs of aggression. It had simply watched and warned. Get me Rhea, Mara said, her voice now firm. I need to know everything she's seeing. The screen flickered to life again, and Rhea appeared, her face tense. Behind her, the hum of advanced tech and the shadows of soldiers in the background were evident. She had a map of the surrounding star system displayed beside her, a blinking red dot indicating the anomaly's trajectory. I've never seen anything like this, Rhea said, her hands moving over the controls. It's not a ship, Commander. It's as if something is manipulating the space around it. I don't know how it's even possible, but the ship's approaching faster than we can track. Mara's mind raced. Warping space? That wasn't just advanced technology, that was something out of humanity's reach. Something far beyond what they'd ever encountered before. Could the unknown ship somehow be involved? Was this their true test? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Commander, Erickson's voice interrupted, breaking her from her thoughts. The fleet is ready, but we've got a problem. The Xerosians have picked up on the anomaly. They're adjusting course. It's only a matter of time before they arrive. Mara's grip tightened around the edge of the console. The enemy was on their way, and they had no idea what the hell was happening with this unknown force. Were they too late? Was this the beginning of the end, or just the opening act of something far bigger? Prepare for the worst, Mara said, her voice hard as stone. I'll be on the command deck. Let's get ready for whatever comes next. But as she moved toward the door, something flickered on the screen. Another message, more urgent than before. The words that appeared froze her in her tracks. You are not prepared. Turn back now or face the consequences. Mara's heart pounded in her chest as the new message blinked on the screen. You are not prepared. Turn back now or face the consequences. It wasn't just a warning anymore. It was a challenge. And it was clear whoever sent it knew humanity was running out of options. The tension on the bridge was palpable. Crew members exchanged uncertain glances as they scrambled to prepare for the unknown. The hum of the ship's systems, usually a comfort, now sounded like the ticking of a clock counting down to something catastrophic. The Xerosians were closing in, their fleet just beyond the outer rim, a constant, looming threat. They weren't just waiting for humanity's inevitable collapse, they were watching, analyzing, and waiting for their moment to strike. Mara glanced at the viewport. The unknown ship, or whatever it was still coming closer, undeterred by anything. Every scan, every piece of data they could pull, only raised more questions. It wasn't just advanced. It was something out of human comprehension. The distortions in space were becoming more pronounced, a ripple in reality that seemed to bend the fabric of the universe itself. How was this possible? Who or what was capable of manipulating space on this scale? Erickson stood beside her, his face etched with the same confusion that she felt. Commander, we can't just wait here. We need a plan. If we don't do something, we're going to be caught between two enemies, the Xerosians and whatever that thing is. I know, Mara muttered, her mind spinning. She could feel the pressure building, like a storm cloud on the verge of breaking. They were stuck in a deadlock, one that could shatter humanity's future with a single misstep. I'll make contact. We need to know exactly who we're dealing with. As if on cue, the intercom crackled to life again. It was Rhea, her voice as tight as a drawn wire. Commander, the anomaly, it's shifting. I can't explain it. It's like it's reacting to our presence. We need to make a decision now. I'm getting readings that don't match anything in our database. This ship, it doesn't belong in this universe. The words hit Mara like a hammer. Doesn't belong in this universe. The thought alone made her blood run cold. Could this be some sort of entity from beyond the known galaxy? Something older? Something more powerful? She had heard rumors of beings who existed outside of time, outside of reality, but they were just myths. They couldn't be real. Or could they? Commander! Rhea's voice broke through her thoughts. We're out of time. The Xerosian fleet is within range. We can't hold out much longer. Mara's eyes flicked to the screen again. The Xerosians' approach was relentless. They were already in firing range, and the tactical data displayed on the console showed their ships bristling with weapons. Humanity didn't stand a chance. Not against the Xerosians. Not against whatever this new threat was. She ran her fingers over her lips, trying to find some clarity in the chaos. Erickson, we need to make contact with the unknown ship. Prepare a transmission. We don't have much time. As Erickson turned to issue the orders, Mara's thoughts swirled. They couldn't afford to let the unknown ship reach them, and they couldn't afford to let the Xerosians advance any further. They were trapped in the middle, and the stakes had never been higher. Was the unknown ship here to help, or were they simply another piece of the puzzle, one that was playing a far more dangerous game? Then, the ship trembled, and a high-pitched whine filled the air. A ripple of energy surged from the unknown vessel, and for a moment, everything in the room seemed to bend. Reality itself felt like it was warping around them. Erickson's voice was thick with fear. What the hell is happening? Mara gripped the edge of her console as the ship rocked. The sensors began to overload with data, but it was too much to process. Space itself was bending and twisting, warping around them, and the unknown ship was at the center of it all. It wasn't just manipulating space, it was shaping it. We're not ready for this, Mara whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The implications were horrifying. If this ship was truly what it seemed, something beyond their understanding, then humanity wasn't just on the verge of losing a battle. They were on the verge of losing their place in the universe itself. Commander! Erickson shouted, his voice filled with urgency. The Xerosians are firing. We've got incoming. Mara turned to face him, her mind a whirlwind of impossible decisions. She had one shot at this, one chance to reach out and understand this alien force before they were consumed by it, before the Xerosians destroyed them all. Send the transmission, she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Now! The moment the command left her lips, the entire bridge seemed to freeze. The hum of the engines, the pressure building around them, everything stopped. A heartbeat. Then another. And then, as if the very fabric of reality itself tore open, the unknown ship sent a single, pulse-like signal through the void. It wasn't just a message, it was a force, a wave of energy that shook the entire fleet. And then, in the blink of an eye, the Xerosian fleet vanished. Just like that. The bridge was silent, but the feeling in the air was electric, charged with 1,000 unspoken questions. Mara stood, frozen, staring at the screen as the unknown ship's silhouette slowly faded into the distance, leaving them suspended in a moment of haunting stillness. But she knew one thing for certain. Whatever was coming next, it wouldn't be anything humanity was ready for. The silence that followed was deafening. The Xerosian fleet had vanished without a trace, as though they had never existed in the first place. The ripple of energy still hung in the air, leaving the crew of the ship stunned and confused. For a moment, it felt like the whole universe had taken a collective breath, holding on to the promise of something more. Mara's fingers hovered over the console, still in disbelief. What just happened? She muttered, the question a whisper that no one could answer. Erickson's voice broke the silence. "Commander, we're still alive." His tone was incredulous. "They're gone, just like that." "How?" "I don't know," Mara said, her mind still reeling. But there was something else, something deeper at play here. The Xerosians hadn't just vanished by chance. The unknown ship, whatever it was, had done more than just neutralize them. It had bent reality, manipulated the very fabric of space to erase them. They weren't just dealing with advanced technology. This was something beyond comprehension, something that could only be described as otherworldly. But was it an ally? Or a harbinger of a far greater threat? The crew began to shake off their shock, slowly resuming their duties, though their eyes never left the spot where the Xerosians had once loomed. Mara turned to face the command center, taking in the gravity of the moment. They had survived, yes, but at what cost? What had they just experienced? And, more importantly, who or what had they just made contact with? Then, the communications console beeped, a quiet but urgent sound that pulled Mara from her thoughts. A new message blinked on the screen. It was a single line of text. "This is only the beginning." Mara's breath caught in her throat. Her instincts screamed that the battle was far from over. Whatever force had intervened to stop the Xerosians was not here to offer salvation. It had shown them power beyond their wildest dreams, but it also carried an unspoken warning. The calm before the storm, it seemed, was about to end. The very nature of the universe had shifted. Nothing was as it had been before. "Commander," Ria's voice came through, breaking the stillness. "We're receiving a transmission from the unknown ship. It's asking us to come closer. It wants us to follow." The request hung in the air, heavy with implications. What could they expect if they followed this enigmatic force? Was it guiding them, or was it leading them into something far more dangerous than they could imagine? Mara stood frozen, her gaze fixed on the words on the screen. It wasn't just an invitation. It was a challenge, a call to action. She swallowed hard, making a decision in the span of a heartbeat. "Prepare the fleet. We're going in." The crew, already accustomed to the gravity of the situation, moved swiftly. The plan was set. They would approach, cautiously, not knowing what awaited them, but driven by the same human spirit that had survived impossible odds for centuries. The unknown was still out there, a dark enigma in the fabric of space. But as long as humanity had a voice, they would be heard. And when the moment came, when the crew faced whatever the universe had in store for them, they would face it together with courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that humanity could defy anything. The engines of the ship roared to life, and the fleet moved forward toward the unknown, toward the edge of the galaxy's greatest mystery.